Welcome to UE Systems Ultraprobe 10,000 Equipment Orientation for Airborne Structure-Borne Ultrasonic Inspection, presented to you by the Training Division of UE Systems Incorporated. We will identify what comes in your case: the Ultraprobe Pistol Grip 10,000, the noise attenuating headphones, which meet OSHA's regulations for single hearing protection and are designed to go under a hard hat. The recharge kit, which comes with a charging pod, the base, the cable that has dual connections, one for the Ultraprobe or charging base, the pod, and one cable for the warble tone generator. The warble tone generator that emits a false ultrasonic sound with a rechargeable battery used for sensitivity validation. The scanning module, which has a 60-degree field of view and is used for normal scanning distances, attached to the Ultraprobe when first shipped. The stethoscope module used for structure-borne inspections. It is a wave guide to guide the sound out of the structure to the piezoelectric crystals in the module. The rubber focusing probe used for leak source identification and isolation to pinpoint areas of interest, such as a leak, or as extra shielding over the stethoscope module in noisy ultrasonic environments. The long-range module, an airborne module with a 10-degree field of view that doubles the distance of the normal scanning module. The remote magnetic transducer, which is designed to use on vibrating equipment or rotating equipment, something that is moving too much to use the stethoscope module, 27-pound pull with a stretch cable. And the extension kit, designed to extend the reach for the structure-borne inspections. 3 aluminum rods that screw into the base module of the stethoscope module. The trigger is for data acquisition. Pull the trigger and freeze the decibel on the screen. It's also the on-off button if set up into trigger on, trigger off mode that we'll see in the menu selection later. Initially, the trigger must be pulled and held to keep the unit on. The SD card slot, where the SD card goes for uploading, downloading, and memory. The Ultraprobe 10,000 SD has an onboard memory, much smaller, for temporary storage, as well as an expandable memory that we use SD cards for. The removable battery, lithium-ion rechargeable. 2 batteries may come with yours or 1. And the SD card slot comes with every new 10,000. Or the SD card comes with every new 10,000. The transducer connection port. If you pull the scanning module straight out, you'll notice there's a port with 4 receptacles, gold receptacles inside. The serial number of the unit can be found inside that port. The serial number of each module is on the back of the module next to the 4 gold press-fitted pins. There are 2 main controls to navigate the Ultraprobe 10,000. The first would be the sensitivity dial that utilizes a spin and click technology to assist with sensitivity control, as well as menu navigation and selection through the firmware. Again, it spins and it clicks to select. The enter function is a double button. You may select certain items when the screen says press enter to select it. It is also used to store information as well. Again, the key to this is read the screen. Press the enter button only when the directions on the screen say press enter to select the item. If it does not say press enter to select the item, you will use the sensitivity dial here to press to select that item. Understanding your display is important in controlling the functions of this instrument. There are 3 main areas that we can navigate to, but there is more on that display. We will go over that. Here, under the main display screen, the decibel values will be shown. If not shown, there will be arrows telling you which way to turn the sensitivity so that the Ultraprobe 10,000 may form a digital decibel on the screen. The frequency. The frequency of this unit is 20 kilohertz to 100 kilohertz in increments of 1 kilohertz. The battery indicator, telling you how much battery remains. As you get down to 1 bar left in that graph, it's time to finish up what you're doing and start recharging or grab another battery. The sensitivity area is your setting for your sensitivity. It is a scale of 0 to 70 in increments of 1. This sensitivity is set to 69 as on the screen. The mode. The current detection mode is either real-time, snapshot, or peak hold. You may not access it from this area, but it is telling you what the gun is set to. You will access what mode it is in the menu section we will cover later. The intensity meter measures the magnitude of the input signal, also used for proper recording parameters, which we'll go over as well. The function bar, where various menu options and saving data is located. Here it says enter for record wave. So you would press the yellow button to start the record mode if you wanted to record a sound wave right now. So when learning the displays and controls, inspectors can first start with the sensitivity dial. First, press the sensitivity dial repeatedly, slowly, and observe the flashing of the controllable functions within the display. These are the 3 areas, cursor areas, that we can adjust on the main display by pressing the sensitivity button. Your home resting spot would be sensitivity. When S equals is flashing, you can adjust your sensitivity. If you press in the sensitivity dial, kilohertz will start to flash, and you can adjust your frequency anywhere from 20 to 100 kilohertz. Press it again, a second time, and the function bar, press enter, starts to flash, and you can rotate through a short menu item down here. Press it one more time, third time, and you return back to S equals. So let's enter the setup menu. Press your sensitivity dial until the function bar is flashing. Rotate it till it says press enter for setup menu. Once in the setup menu, all the menu items are numbered. You'll see menu 1 select. The first item is add remove SD card. There are 2 ways to remove the SD card from the Ultraprobe 10,000. With the gun completely off, you may remove the SD card safely or install a new SD card. Otherwise, if the unit is on, you must come to menu number 1 and add remove SD card. It will tell you that it is safe to take out or put an SD card in. Rotate your sensitivity dial to the right one time and you'll come to menu number 2, display screens. We can switch between the storage display, which we'll see later, as well as the main display that we first started working on, as well as a third display that shows up for valves called the ABCD display. It only shows up when the valve application is chosen. It will give you 4 areas, A, B, C, and D, to store a decibel on. So the storage display looks like this. First, our main display is here. This is what we were working with just a moment ago. If you were to choose storage display, it looks like this. It's a split screen that shows the baseline information in the stored data area. On the top, you have the current display. This has 4 areas to work through: sensitivity, kilohertz, then your record position is now sitting at the top left of the screen. Whereas on the newer models, you will see your record position sitting to the bottom right on the screen of the main display. You may not access that record from the main display. It's just telling you what record you're on. In the storage display, you may access this. It will go from sensitivity to frequency to record to function bar. So you have 4 cursor areas to work with on the storage display. In the storage display, the baseline reading, not the last reading, but the baseline reading was 85 decibels set at 25 kilohertz in a real-time mode. If you see WF sitting here, that means a WAV file had been recorded on the baseline. Your sensitivity setting was at 70. The alarm is still set at 120, a default. So the alarms have not been set for this route as of yet. In between the brackets, you see stock number 23145-30. That could say motor 1 inboard bearing or motor 1 MIB. That's the asset nomenclature that you named that information in the route in the Ultratrend DMS software and was loaded to this unit. Whoever named this, they named that asset stock number 23145-30. Then the function bar, again, it does not say press enter, but it's the function bar again. It says enter for store record. So take a moment and navigate through these 3 positions. Navigate to the bottom for the function bar where it says enter for is flashing, and rotate till it says enter for exit main. When you exit to main, it will come back to the main display. Then 2 clicks of the sensitivity dial will take you back down to your function bar, and then press the yellow button because it says press enter for setup menu. So we are now back to the main display if you chose to go look at the storage display with me. If not, we should be at this point in the setup on menu item number 3. I'll give you a moment, or you may pause it to catch up. Menu item number 3, application select. This is important that we choose the correct application when we are route based in our inspection. If we are troubleshooting, it does not matter which application it is tuned to. This deals with loading the route back to the software as the name of the application, bearing, valve, electrical, is part of the nomenclature of the route. Also for input data, as far as parameter information around what we are testing. That input data would change if it was electrical versus bearing. Once entered into the application area, you see generic, valves, bearing, electrical, steam, leak, and press enter for exit. You may choose anything. It's defaulted to generic. If you chose, for instance, leak, you would rotate until leak is flashing and then choose enabled, hit the sensitivity dial 1 more time. It still has not accepted it. To accept it, like an enter key on a keyboard, you press enter to exit. You will then receive warning information that you will delete all the records on the onboard memory. That's fine, proceed. Then leak is enabled and you have a clean memory on the Ultraprobe 10,000. The SD card, however, has not been deleted. No information was removed from the SD card at this point. Once we exit back out to the main menu, you have module type select as number 4. Some of the common modules listed in here are SCM is scanning module, STM is stethoscope module, RMT is the remote magnetic transducer, LRM is the long range module. In the instruction manual for the instrument, as well as the software, the DMS software, all these abbreviations, there are many more, are listed out as to what they are. It's important to keep up when trending or trying to be repeatable that we keep up with what module was used on the routes. Rotate to menu number 5. Menu number 5 is instrument setup. This is fairly important. Instrument setup is either manual or automatic. If we were in the automatic mode and you enter this item, again by pushing the sensitivity dial, the default is manual setup. If you're in the automatic mode, you would have baselined a route, taken all the readings, say it was a bearing route, certain frequency, certain sensitivity at every different position, as well as any record information that you inputted. All that information is on the baseline. If the unit is in automatic, when you reload that route for the second, third, fourth, whatever time, it will preset the unit to the frequency and sensitivity that it was set to during baseline, very important during trending, as well as bring over all the input information that you entered either in the software or in the instrument when you were in the field. If the unit was in manual, it would not do those things. It's important that the unit is in manual when baselining. If we were in automatic and we were to baseline a route and we come to our first record number 1, we set the sensitivity to 25. We set the frequency to 30. We store the information. It advances us to record number 2. Because it's in automatic, it is looking for a frequency and sensitivity to set it to for record number 2. It can't find anything because this is the baseline route, so it defaults to 40 for kilohertz for the frequency and a sensitivity setting of 70. And this will do this every time you advance to the next record, making it very difficult when you're baselining. So while baselining, we would want it in manual, not automatic. In manual, we would set it up for record 1, frequency of 30, sensitivity of 25, store the information. When we go to record 2, it is still at 30 kilohertz and the sensitivity at 25, somewhere near where we were last. Is much better than the default values. So manual for baselining, automatic for any other time you run the route. Once everything is baselined, you have all your routes up and running, the gun should stay in automatic. The only trouble is when we are having some routes run and some routes being baselined, we have to remember to swap between the two, manual or automatic in instrument setup. Rotate on to menu number 6. Alarm enabled or disabled. If enabled, the 10,000 will alert inspectors with a test point in its alarm status. The headphones will tone and it will flash on the screen that we have gone over an alarm. Typically, this would be used in a bearing route. To activate or enable the alarms, a baseline condition must be established as well as the instrumentation must be placed in automatic. So the instrument setup should be in automatic, so it will read the information from the software and what those alarm values are. Then you can enable the alarm. If you don't like that feature, turn the alarm off. If you're not going to do anything, if it does go into alarm, you're going to wait until you see the DMS software and then run a report, then turn the alarm feature off. It's not needed. Menu number 7, rotating to the right one more time with the sensitivity dial. Set record time. You can preset the recording time of this unit, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 seconds. The unit will record up to 1 minute in a manual mode. Never less than 15 seconds for a recording. If we're going to analyze, we need at least 15 seconds to build a very good FFT to analyze. Most electrical recordings seem to come in at 30 seconds. Electrical inspectors like to listen to it a little longer, but no less than 15 seconds, whether manual or a preset automatic time. You would select this area by pushing the sensitivity and rotating through the options, and then pressing sensitivity and then enter to exit out. Back to the main menu here, menu number 8, record wave on alarm. If you had the alarm value set in the software, the instrument was set up, was in automatic, and as you were trending, you reached one of the alarm values, this will throw you into the recording mode automatically without you having to go to the function bar and choosing record wave time. Do remember, this will not give you a chance to set your sensitivity correctly before recording. Select function list. The function bar has 7 items in it on the main display. It has a different set of items in it on the storage display. They are separate of one another. If you never use some of those items to make it quicker to rotate through them, you could turn some of those items off, such as Text Editor Select so that you don't see it. So when you enter this area by pushing the sensitivity dial, you see Main Menu, that's the main display, and then the storage display. And you can go through here and turn off or on. Yes, it is on. No, it is off of what you use or don't use. Do remember of anyone coming behind you that may use some of those options. If you turn off Setup Menu, you will not be able to get into the menu. So don't turn off Setup Menu. There is a back way into the menu with the gun off. If this was turned off for some reason, to get back into the menu and turn it back on. With the Ultraprobe off, you would push and hold the sensitivity dial and the yellow enter button at the same time and pull the trigger and hold it until you saw Setup Menu number 1. Rotate to menu number 9, enter into here, find Setup Menu, and turn it back on. Text Editor Select allows us to edit the text, meaning the name nomenclature. I can name my test point if need be while I'm on the fly. This is better done through the software with a big keyboard and able to see the whole route all at once. Typically, once you enter into here, you will have text editor on, edit on select, off or no. So we need the text editor on or we won't be able to see our nomenclature at the top of the screen or in the brackets in the storage display. But if we turn it all the way off, we won't be able to see the route name. So the way we handle that is text editor select when you enter into here by pressing the sensitivity dial, text editor select on, edit on storage, no. We find it to be bad to try to edit anything while in the field, make a note, wait till you get to your computer, see the whole route, then make the change. Rotate down to More, menu number 11. Press the sensitivity dial to choose More. There are more menu items. Once in, we will be at menu number 12, and you notice above that, as we rotate through, we'll wind up at Back. You could turn right now to the left, and it would go to Back, and you could select that, and it would go back to the first set of menus. Right now, we're going to continue turning the sensitivity knob to the right, so we are at default settings. So when you mess everything up, which I hope you do, you get out, you mess around with this unit and learn it, and you don't remember anything you changed and you want it just like it did when it came out of the box, choose default settings. It will erase the onboard memory of any stored data, as well as set all these options up to their default statuses. Rotate to the right once, menu number 13, user sensitivity default. This is just where does the sensitivity come on. If it's always too loud because it's defaulted to 70, the highest sensitivity value, then turn it down, maybe halfway. Set the sensitivity default to 35. It does not lock you out of adjusting it. It's just where does it come on. The same for frequency default. Where does the unit come on? At UE Systems, we default the unit to 40 kilohertz and put the scanning module in it. So as soon as you get it and open the case, you could literally go find air leaks without touching it, other than pulling the trigger. Again, it does not lock you out of adjusting the frequency. Just now we can lock out the frequency. So frequency adjust is either yes or no once you enter into here by pushing the sensitivity knob. Yes, we can adjust the frequency. No, we cannot adjust the frequency. The only time I think you would use this might be you have someone new that you're training on a bearing route, for instance, and you have only a certain amount of time to train them. You've baselined everything already. So you go turn everything off except store record and record wave in the function bar menus, because you know the back way into the gun now. You come into here and turn frequency adjust off. So the gun is presetting itself to the sensitivity and frequency it was to as the baseline. So your trend is still good because they can't change the frequency as long as they're taking a decent reading. You're good to go. Other than that, your frequency adjust, I would imagine, would be turned on all the time, and then the yes option. Once back to the main menu here, if you entered the frequency adjust area, rotate down or restore list. Restore list is the input data. You have drop-down options that you can choose what you want in there. For instance, for bearing, you have test result. What is your test result for the bearing? It's good, nothing. Maybe lubrication is an option. Maybe you want to pull out vibe. Maybe you want to pull out thermography. Maybe you want to pull out oil analysis as the next step. And you can put what those options are, and they will load to the gun from the software. If bearing type, you can put what type of bearings, needle, split, spherical, ball, roller, whatever type of bearing you have could be in a drop down, and you actually enter that through the DMS software and load it with the route, and it'll show up in here. Say once you got out there and you really don't like these list items, these input list items, you could restore it to the default of NE, not entered. So you'll see NE a lot. That means not entered in this area. Not a lot of people use this. Rotate down to menu number 17, set shut-off mode. Set shut-off mode allows for the power on-off through a time system or via instrumentation trigger. If trigger is selected, pulling the trigger will turn the instrument on and off. If timed is selected, the instrumentation will power down after a selected time frame after the last time the trigger was pulled. So it'll start counting down from when the trigger was used. If you choose the timed option, it wants to know how long. I believe it's defaulted to 5 seconds. So go in here and you can turn that way up high. If you choose the timed option, you're able to use the trigger as a freeze of the decibel display. Menu number 19, the next one down, is display response. It's defaulted to slow, which seems a little slow. You push the sensitivity button, it doesn't start to flash immediately. It takes just a split second. You may double click because of this. Fast, you'll watch the bar graph peg out every single time it hears a sound. Medium seems to be the way everything should react. So display response as a suggestion would be medium. So enter by pushing the sensitivity dial. Your 3 options to rotate through are slow, medium, and fast. Find medium, press the sensitivity button, then exit back to the main menu. Line input select. This is a no longer used area. On the bottom of the instrument, you will find a input port. It did used to be used for a few things, but again, this model has basically been out since 2003. It's no longer used. So the line input select, if you entered into here, would be defaulted to the off position and should stay in the off position. Menu number 21, sensitivity mode. Not many use this. It automatically is supposed to adjust to the sensitivity needed for a recording and bring it into range. Most inspectors enjoy using the sensitivity and controlling that themselves. So it is either an automatic or manual. It is defaulted to a manual use. Menu number 22, headphone volume. Headphone volume is 0 to 99 on this instrument. Most people don't mess with it. The sensitivity affects the volume, but the sensitivity does not control the volume. Sometimes it's always too loud for certain people, so they will come in and adjust the headphone output volume, and that does not affect the sensitivity of the unit. If you do change this, do remember a person coming behind you may think something is wrong with it if you haven't told them or adjusted it back, and may send it in for repair. Otherwise, leave it at 99 and let the sensitivity affect the volume. Enter the inspector ID, who took the reading. If we are trending and trying to be repeatable, we certainly want to know who took the reading. 3 alphanumeric characters. Maybe it's their initials. Once you enter into this, it will store this record on every single record taken. If you do this on the baseline, it will keep moving it back and forth between the software and the Ultraprobe until that is changed as that person taking that reading. Set time and date. We want the correct time and date set, obviously. as this is the way we keep up with the readings by time and date. Also, it should be matched, not perfectly, but to the same date and close to the time of your computer. Sometimes computers don't like it when those times don't match. Not a huge issue, but we definitely need the time and date set for the readings. They are defaulted to an Eastern time zone. Date format select. How does that date show up? Month, day, year, year, month, day, or I'm sorry, month, day, year. Either way, it's defaulted to month, day, year. If you want to change it to day, month, year, enter here with the sensitivity knob, rotate to day, month, year, select it with the sensitivity knob, and then exit back out. Menu number 26 is calibration due date. This is when the unit is due in for calibration. This would be 1 year to 13 months, 12 to 13 months from when it was last calibrated. Not when it was calibrated, but when it is due for calibration is shown here. Standard or metric units, it's defaulted to standard units. You can change that to metric, but that is for the input data such as pipe size, orifice size, things like that. It does not affect the dB or the frequency. The next menu item, menu number 28, is display mode select. Shown here on the bottom picture, you can see that the unit is in a real-time RT mode. This will either be RT, PK for peak hold, SS for snapshot. Typically, everything we teach today is used in a real-time mode. So keep this in a real-time mode. dB scale type select. This is fairly important if being used in conjunction with the Ultraprobe 401 grease caddy. The readings may have been taken and trended with the Ultraprobe 10,000 and a stethoscope module. The Ultraprobe 401 grease caddy has a magnetic mount or a magnetic transducer. Those different modules will read different decibels. So you can either offset the scale on the 401 grease caddy or offset the scale on the 10,000. Typically, inspectors choose to offset the 401, not the 10,000. If you were to offset it, you would take the 10,000 with the stethoscope module, choose a test point on a bearing, for instance, take a reading. If it says 50 dBs, we note that it's 50 dBs. We then take the 401 grease caddy with the magnet and put the magnet in the same spot the stethoscope module touched. Same frequencies on both units. We then note what the 401 grease caddy reads. Let's say it read 42 dB. There's an 8 difference decibel reading there. So what we would do is offset, if we were going to offset the 10,000, we would offset this to a -8. More typical would be you would offset the 401 grease caddy by a +8. The offset values has a wider range on the 401 grease caddy. So dB scale type select, you have relative or you have offset. Relative is relative to UE's calibration. Offset is for the instance that I just described to you. We never offset the unit if it's out of calibration. Offsetting a unit for a poorly calibrated unit does not help. Only between units do we offset. If we chose offset in the dB scale type select from menu number 29, we would have to tell the unit how much to offset it by. So we would then, once we choose offset in the previous menu item, we would then come back to this item, dB offset value, and tell it how many negative plus, and this would have been a -8 offset in here. Menu number 31, and this will take us back to our regular 1 through 11 menu items and then enter to exit. Or you could simply press enter to exit to the main display right now. So back to your main display now. Press the sensitivity dial 2 times and rotate till you say press enter or C, press enter for setup menu flashing. We're going to start right here and roll through these function items. So we know what setup menu. With the function bar still flashing, rotate the sensitivity dial to the right one time. You will see press enter for text editor on or off. It should be on. If it was off, you would not see the information sitting at the top of the screen. So at the top of the screen, you see pump 2D. If it was off, this would not be there. You have 16 characters to name your machine and test point or location and test point. This is typically done in the DMS software. If the press enter for text editor says on, then this will show up at the top of the screen. If you press the sensitivity dial right now, it would give you the option to enter in and change the name or add a name. Again, not good to do when you're in the field. We find typically better to write down on a notepad and use the software. The option is here though. Back to the main display. So if you entered into here, your sensitivity was probably flashing. So 2 clicks again, sensitivity to frequency to function bar. Rotate it till you see press enter for alarm. It's either disabled or enabled. If you were to press that sensitivity, right now you would see alarm not enabled. If the alarm had been enabled, it would say alarm and what the value of that first alarm test point was. Back to the front screen, or the main display, I should say. If you're back at sensitivity, 2 clicks of the sensitivity dial, and you're back at the function bar, rotating to the right till it says press enter for whatever application you left it with when we went through that area. It could say bearings, it could say generic, it could say electric, but it's going to be info. This is where you input the parameter information, the lists items, and it's just parameter information. In this instance, we'll see that you could put test results, temperature, info, the RPM, always good information, and the type of bearing it is. On some of these, it's basically blank and you can type it out. RPM are just numbers. Test result, just a number, temperature is just a number. But for test results and type, those are drop-down items. If you add what you want in there in the DMS software, it would have been loaded in here for you to choose. Back out to the main display, 2 clicks down to the function bar again if need be. Press enter for storage display. This is the split screen that we looked at earlier. So if you press enter, you don't have to, you can watch this or do it. But if you were to press the yellow enter button, we would see the storage display with the baseline information on the bottom and the on the top. To get out of that, simply rotate to the bottom where it says enter for, make it flash, that's the function bar, and make it say enter for exit main. Once it says exit main, press the enter button and you will come back to the main display. Exit main, back to the main display. Pause the playback if needed right now. Next item is press enter for store record. This is not store record. This is store record. This stores only the text information, such as decibel, frequency, time and date. This does not record sound. If we were to enter here, we should have had a decibel on the screen before we entered, but you would then see this. Press enter to store it, turn the sensitivity dial to change your record position. So we were on number 8, we could change that to number 9 or 10 or 11 if we need to skip a spot in our route because something was off. Or if you didn't mean to come in here, press the sensitivity dial to exit back to the main display. If we want to continue to store, we press enter to store. And then you will see very quickly a store record confirmed screen for about 2 seconds. And then it exits back to your main display. Rotating to the right, I believe 2 times for you. Press enter. So get back down to your function bar. Click your sensitivity dial if need be, if you're at the sensitivity area. So click it from sensitivity to frequency to function bar. and rotate it till it says press enter for record wave. Recording wave records the sound itself. And we say record wave because this is a .wav file format. It also does the store record automatically for you. So you do not do both. You do one or the other, store record or record wave. Again, recording wave automatically stores the record and records the sound file. So we would adjust it till we see a decibel here. Right now, this is telling me to turn up. There's no dB. The sensitivity needs to be turned up. A decibel needs to be present. And typically, 2 to 4 of those bars of the bar graph need to be present. Not more than 4, because it will be too loud during playback if not distorted, as well as clipping the analysis and the time waveform analysis. 2 to 4 bars for recording. If it's below 2, try and record it anyway. It may not be loud enough. It may just be enough that you can analyze it though. So once we get everything set up, a decibel, 2 to 4 bars on the intensity meter that's not showing here, then we press the yellow button to record. And the first screen we come to is press and hold the sensitivity switch to start record number 8. By the way this is written, I know that this is in a manual mode for the recording. I need to press and hold the sensitivity switch in and count off in my head for how long I want to record. If it said press sensitivity switch to start, that would tell me that it is in an automatic preset time of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, or 30 seconds. So I press it and hold it. As it's recording, you'll see recording wave file. When you release it, or if it was in a preset time and the recording is over, you will see the next screen. Press enter to play back, press sensitivity to continue on storing. You could play it back and listen to make sure you got a good recording. If you like it, continue on. Either way, you have to press sensitivity to continue. Your next screen gives you 2 options. You liked it, you want to save it, or you press sensitivity to exit out and start again. If we decide to save it, then press enter to save the yellow button and move on. You will see 2 screens pop up. Wave store confirmed for 2 seconds, and the store record screen will pop up as well for 2 seconds. We need to pay attention to the display to make sure. If we don't see these 2 screens, then we don't know for sure that it has stored the information. It will then return you to the main display. The next item on the function bar, and again, you'll probably be at S equals 70, flashing, press sensitivity once, you're to frequency, press it again, and you're at the function bar. Press enter for SD info. The SD info is this. We can manipulate several items in the SD info. We can see the free space and info for that secure disk card. We can display all the files that are on it, delete a file, or play a specific WAV file back that is on that SD card. And then of course, if you have any questions whatsoever, how to operate your 10,000 or anything else you need help with ultrasound on, please contact us at 1-800-223-1325. You can email us at info@uesystems.com. And always check out our website packed full of information at www.uesystems.com.